Today I want to share a special gift with you, a self-hypnosis practice that will allow you to be much more self-confident, self-assured, self-trusting, especially in those areas where maybe before you weren't so self-confident. So for example, maybe you had to do a presentation, or maybe you had to speak up in the boardroom, or maybe you had to have a sales conversation, or maybe a cold call, or maybe it was a confrontation or a negotiation of some sort, whatever it was. So I want you to specifically think about a time right now where perhaps in the past, when you showed up during those situations, it didn't go so well. Let's just leave it at that, because maybe you were feeling too self-conscious, too nervous, too just kind of like not really your best self, right? And obviously not a fun thing to remember. I get that. And that's exactly why I want to teach you this process. It's self-hypnosis. Now, remember, all our thoughts, whenever we think, that's technically self-hypnosis. How you think and what you think on a consistent basis determines your level of success, your level of enthusiasm, your level of self-confidence, your level of happiness, joy, fulfillment, and all those other things that we want, right? So therefore, keep in mind, your thoughts have such a deep impact on you. And therefore, I always invite my clients to practice, to first of all understand, what are you thinking on a daily basis, and how are you thinking? How is that self-talk? And so many people unfortunately do a lot of self-critical, self-judgment, they give themselves the dig, you're a failure, and that's just not a good idea, because that just causes more pressure, it causes more stress, all that self-blame, self-shame, and it makes us feel really, really bad. So therefore, it's not the best way to motivate yourself or inspire yourself to do better, right? Instead, so therefore, this is the process that will actually help you show up in the future much, much better, much more self-confident, much more self-assured, where you can actually count on you knowing that you're in control of your thoughts, of your emotions, of how you speak and what you say, and your actions, your posture, your presence, your energy, and how you show up. Okay? So, and you can do this, by the way, with eyes open, eyes closed. It doesn't really matter. What does matter is, for this to really work well, I would love for you, because you might be busy right now, either driving or who knows what, responding to emails. And for this to really work, I would love for you to take time out of your busy schedule. I know, which is a luxury very few people allow themselves to have. Take time out of your busy schedule where you can actually be present with this exercise, participate most importantly, and focus. Because the deeper, the more, the better you can participate, the better this is going to work for you. And keep in mind, the first time or even the second time, it may even kind of like, it might not even feel like it's really you yet. But that's the point of practicing. You see, the more you practice, and you can obviously do this in your imagination. This is not something you have to, like, you could just all day long, you can do this as often as you want. You can call it imagination, you can call it fantasize, you can call it visualization. Regardless what we call it, it actually is a profound self-hypnosis, because it's beyond visualization and meditation. We're going to fill this self-hypnosis practice with a sensational, and trust me, your subconscious needs a sensational experience for it to buy in, and that's why it will stick. So think about that particular scene that in the past, it just didn't go so well. You didn't show up as your best self. You were too shaky. You were too self-conscious, nervous, anxious, whatever, too worried, whatever it might be. And as you see yourself in that scene, imagine as if you could see yourself the last time like that. And imagine now seeing that picture, movie, however you see it, or maybe it's even a feeling. And I actually want you to, as if you could just like shrink it down, make it really small, allow that picture to get even darker, 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 fade all the colors out of it, fade the sounds out of it, allow it to sort of just like disappear into the earth. never to be seen again. Okay, when that's done, you can actually like do something physically. This is very, very important because this is the pattern interrupt that we need. This is sort of like you can shake it out, you can shrug your shoulders up and down, however, or even look up, look down. Any kind of physical state change, okay? Now, here's the $1 million question. If you and I were working together, I would ask you, how would you like to be instead? If you could be your best version, your first class, world class version. Now, I didn't ask whether you can believe it, that you could be like that. That's not the question. The question is, how would you like to be instead? If you could. How would you like to be instead if you could? So right now, I want you to picture, I want you to imagine. You press play again, but this time you show up as your best self. What would that be like for you if you could actually do that? So now I want you to notice, see yourself, discover how would you be showing up differently for you to know, Susan, I'm nailing this. Susan, this is the optimal best me. Susan, look at me. Look at my posture. Look at the way I stand. Look at the way I move. So just slow this down. This is so important. This is where you get to play. This is where you get to experiment. This is where you get to switch out the colors, switch out the mood, switch out the attitude. And I'm going to ask you again, if you could be any which way, how would you like to be instead? Notice when you can be like that, the best or even better version of you. Notice what that's like. The way you might be walking into that room. The way you might be carrying yourself. Notice what you would be seeing about yourself for you to know, oh wow, I'm doing a really good job. This is super convincing. This is the real me. And what would you be hearing for you to know that indeed this is the best version? So what might that self-talk be like now? Perhaps that self-talk went from self-judgment and criticism and shame and blame and yada yada to now a voice that is inspiring, uplifting, encouraging, empowering. Notice what that voice sounds like to you. A voice you can trust, a voice you can lean on, a voice that will encourage you, motivate you, move you to even greater heights. Notice what that sounds like. And then, of course, your voice. Notice that you now speak clearly because you know your thoughts matter. You give yourself time to think. You get to pause frequently. You hold eye contact because you know you belong in the room. And it feels so good to be present. And speaking of feeling, notice what that feels like to you when you can trust your own judgment. When you can hear your own voice, the voice of authority, the voice of authenticity, the voice of the real you, which sometimes you might get so excited and so enthused, you might even raise your voice, and at other times, it might even come down to a whisper, because you know you have something important to share with the room, with the people. And notice what that feels like for you to know this is the best you, to feel grounded, to feel centered, to feel in control of you. And by the way, no, mistakes no longer make you shrink. Mistakes are there to teach you, and you know that, and you keep going anyway. And you recognize, hey, mistakes are a part of life. We would never call them failure. We would call them growth, expansion, possibilities, opportunities, doors opening, and others closing. So notice what it feels like for you to be able to move like that, to breathe like that. In fact, take a deep breath with me and let it out with a sigh. That's right. One more breath. And every time you take a breath like that, it will remind you of the confidence that you have inside. It will remind you of who you really are. Every time you breathe in, that calm confidence returns. It's very reassuring to you. It's very comforting. It's very calming. And because of that, of course, that's how you control the room. That's how you, because you all know that the bigger frame controls the smaller frame. And of course, before you even walk into the room, you get to decide on the frame that you want to be. And with practice and repetition, eventually your subconscious is just going to be like, got it, boss. I know exactly what you want. I know how you want it. I know who you want, and I'm on it. Because your subconscious learns through repetition. So first, you must give the proper commands, right? What do you see for you to know that you're confident? What do you hear besides the self-talk? Notice your voice, what it sounds like when you are self-confident. Notice what that feels like in your body, in your belly, in your chest, in your head, to know that you are now entering the room, feeling in control of you, feeling on top of the world, feeling empowered, feeling inspired, feeling enthused. And remember, so often confidence isn't loud. Confidence whispers. Confidence empowers other people around you, inspires, moves, motivates. Confidence is this energy that gives people the opportunity to lean on you. And notice what that feels like when you know that this is the kind of energy, infection you have. Truly, you are infectious. You are charismatic. You are the presence in that moment that you need and that so many people need. And notice what that's like when you can be like that. And notice what you remember about you. Perhaps a sense of gratitude. Maybe there's a sense of pride that comes up. Maybe there's a sense of curiosity for you when you can be like that. And of course, when you can be like that, not only do you impact people around you, but you certainly, most importantly, impact the outcome. And that's cause for a big celebration. So one more time, here's your anchor. That's right, every time you take that breath, calm, confidence returns, and it gets cemented into every cell, muscle, bone, and atom in your body. And eventually, it will become a force that nobody in the world, not even you, can shut off. It will just keep building and growing and expanding. And you get to celebrate. And remember, it's all an inside job. Nobody knows what you are doing. That's the best part, in my opinion. So the more you practice this, the more you become it. The more you remember it, the more you imagine it, the more you play along, the more audacious you can be about this, the better it's gonna work. So have fun with this, enjoy the process. You can tweak it, you can make it your own. And I'll see you next time.